Welcome back to Learn BC. We've been talking about warehousing and the concepts of inventory, comparisons to warehousing as modules. In our last two videos, we've covered, the detail of what is basic inventory compared to warehousing. Now let's take a bit of a dive and a further discussion into the warehousing and really how does this actually flow. So we'll step through it one screen at a time. I guess the first thing for us is, as we talked about in our last, basic inventory bypasses a lot of the underpinning warehousing functions. We don't need it. If you're running basic inventory, there's no warehouse locations. Location is not mandatory. And when you purchase something, it just goes to inventory. When you sell it, it just goes from one flat inventory. Nice and simple. And as we move into advanced configuration, all of a sudden, there's all these bins. So let's talk through this. Here on this picture, this diagram, we've actually put rows here. So you can see row 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then it goes to another number series starting at 30, then a number series starting at 50, and then it goes up into the high numbers. So each of these areas broken down to give us space. Each of the bins now is a location of where the inventory is located. So I could look up the item and see all the bins where it's located, or I could look up a bin and show me the contents of that bin. The purpose of this helps the fact that we want to be able to run high volume and large locations and be able to move swiftly and know that we can actually find the product, pick, pack, and ship the product that the customer has ordered, be efficient, minimal time wasted. So let's step through this configuration, remembering the relationship here is you've got an item ledger entry that's continuously being touched and updated or changed. And you've got your warehouse entries, which span anything from receipting to picking and shipping, putaways, we've got movements, etc. Let's step through it. So number one for us, we've got our purchase order. As the goods are received, we do what's called a warehouse receipt, right? It's the receipt for the purchase, okay? So the basics, just here to get it in, we're doing a warehouse movement. The receipt itself touches the item ledger. The purchase, the warehouse receipt, confirms the inventory that we've received that. And usually that for us means we've gone into the receipt zone. The receipt zone is like a single bin or multiple bins where we're actually receiving goods into. On the other side, for sales, when we go through the sales cycle, a sales order released, customers have different requirements here. We like the touch it once philosophy, which means release a sales order, and that will actually flow straight to sales shipment. A shipment's created, a pick is then created, and then it's packed and shipped, posted and invoiced, and out she goes. This additional function allows you to plan shipments when you're running a larger environment. The fact that you can actually hold some shipments from being created based on dates or times, and make sure that we're only creating the shipments that are required for that day for the staff that are in the warehouse. So as we step this up a little bit more complicated, we've now got putaways. There's two areas to consider putaways. Number one is, as we've received the goods, you then have a putaway created automatically. That's option one of your configuration. The second is if your staff are running putaway worksheets. That means they plan the putaways. Scenario here, if you receive 15 shipping containers and you have it all out on, you bring it out in boxes, and then your team are palletizing that and putting it into pallets. The question for us is, do we just want one massive set of putaways, which can sometimes be a bit confusing, or do we actually create the putaways as required using the putaway worksheet? So you've got your putaways from stock coming in. The other area we've got to put putaways is coming out of production or assembly. A finished good, a completed good, once we've made it, needs to be put away. And so you could be putting away semi-finished goods or finished goods. All right. From here, you've got your picks. Well, we've already talked about the sales pick because it happens through the sales workflow. But we do have other types of picks. For example, if we're picking to a production order, or if I'm picking to do an actual a transfer, so an ad hoc move, we're moving stock between the warehouse and the production team. The other type of warehouse documents are warehouse movements. For example, I'm doing an ad hoc move. I'm moving this stock from 1602. We're going to move that to 1902. Just up here. So we scan the pallet, we scan the bin, scan the pallet, scan the bin. So it's basically the take and the place, and you post that, and that's a warehouse movement. You've got now the different forms of counting we've already talked about, which could be an inventory count, just as numbers alone, but generally speaking, you will do away with that. You would always do a stock count doing bins. So as you would step through the whole warehouse, you'd do a bin at a time. Bin, item, quantity, bin, item, quantity, bin, item, quantity. If you're doing serialization or expiries or lot numbers, it would be bin, item, quantity, and lot number or serial number, and it would prompt for that as you go through that whole stock take process. So really, the system does give us, lots of capability for the warehouse. I guess the key thing here to remember, all of these warehouse documents, they're a warehouse document from a receipt to a shipment to a put away to a pick to a movement to a reclassification. These are all different things that will trigger the warehouse. We've got item and ledger entries that are only really applying when we're bringing the stock in. So as we receive it and as we ship it, as it actually comes in and leaves, the time you're going to have a ledger entry change when value happens or when the stock is adjusted through here because of stock take, etc. So we've done bin count or an inventory count.